Good afternoon. My name is Alina Shevtsova. I am an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about adjustment of status based on marriage and if you need an attorney for that process. I receive many inquiries about adjustment of status based on marriage. It's, I would say, one of the most popular ways for someone to receive a green card in the United States. So if you have a real marriage, why would you need a lawyer? People ask me. I can fill out the forms myself. And absolutely, you probably can, as anyone who can read instructions and has enough patience and time to fill up the forms, you can do it. But first, you need to determine which forms you need to file with the case. But second, you also need to see if there may be legal issues on the way to adjustment of status, apart from the issue of real marriage. You see, adjustment of status consists of kind of two steps. The first step is a basis. This is I-130 petition. For that basis, you do need to establish that your marriage is real. And let's say you're absolutely convinced that it is and it's not an issue. But can you prove it? There will be a second question. So to help you to prove that your marriage is real, that's where the lawyer comes in with advice as to what evidence you can actually attach to show that your marriage is real. And trust me, in every single case, even though there are documents that will be the same, there are documents that will be different, because not everyone's situation is the same. Not everyone has a lease under both names, for example. Some couples reside with their parents. They don't have utility bills. Nevertheless, USCIS demands that you produce evidence on paper as to why your marriage is real. That's number one point. But the most important point, and the most important, is the second step. Let's say you did prove that your marriage is real, and we don't even go into the issues here of Stokes interview and things like that, so you don't have to deal with that. Now, there will be an issue as to can you adjust. Adjustment of status application form now is about 20 pages long compared to 5 that it used to be just a couple years ago. Why? Because it's a very, very detailed. They ask you questions from your height and weight to what the status was for your previous spouse and things like that. It's very, very detailed application. So what is it looking for? They're looking to see if there are any bars, problems, issues, walls towards your adjustment of status. And that's where a lawyer can be most helpful. Specifically, imagine a situation that's like that. You believe and you know that your marriage is real. Your spouse used to have student status, tourist status, change of status a couple times, and basically, unlike many, stayed legally in the United States. Now you guys are married and you have a straightforward case. You're filing for adjustment of status. But there was one little problem. On the adjustment of status application, your spouse had to mention where he or she worked for the last 5 years. And when she stayed in the United States, and let's say school filed for change of status, extension of status applications for her, they were saying that in that application that your spouse was not working. Why? Because otherwise the spouse would not qualify for the change of status, lawful status in the United States. So essentially a misrepresentation was committed, even if the spouse did not intend to lie, was not even aware about the question. Everything was handled by someone else. But now this little thing will be a problem for adjustment of status. It will cause your spouse to have to submit a waiver for fraud or misrepresentation. Okay? So when a lawyer works on a case, a lawyer hopefully early enough will catch that and will address it in advance. Another common situation, a person enters the United States and says they entered without inspection. Now they qualify for 245I because they entered a long time ago, there was a special filings done, everything's good. But then it discovered that it's not really that the person entered without inspection, the person used someone else's documents to enter. So now there is again a fraud issue that is treated differently than entry without inspection that a lawyer will help to address. Visa fraud, another common situation. A person filed long time ago for a tourist visa stating that they were married to someone else. In fact, they were maybe just engaged to someone else, or maybe they were never married, or maybe they lived in a civil marriage, but not official so-called marriage. Now, many years later, they overstayed that visa. They go for adjustment of status with their United States citizen spouse. And the officer is asking them, wait a second, but what about that previous marriage? I don't see a certificate of divorce from that marriage. And the spouse goes, what marriage? What kind of marriage? What certificate? And of course, such a situation will also trigger the need for a waiver. So usually a lawyer, when you come to a lawyer, will help you to avoid surprise. A lawyer cannot lie for you, but to avoid surprise and prepare for the waiver and be honest with you as to your chances to receive a green card, or maybe by filing for the green card, you're going to jeopardize yourself and put yourself in a worse situation than you were before. So that's the essence of those are common issues that can arise. Another benefit that to have a lawyer is, of course, that the lawyer will help you to prepare for the interview and accompany you for the interview if you choose a lawyer to do that. Why it's important? Imagine that you believe you know everything about your spouse, and you think you can answer any question, but every time I prepare couples, there are always rolled eyes when we ask them just simple questions that USCIS officers ask. For example, what's 3 things you like or don't like about your spouse? It's kind of introductory question, but then they would go to something that is related to your life together. Let's say, what kind of cable bill you have, what is the company, and very often people have no idea. Or some other very common little things that don't even matter in your regular life. You care less who pays for the internet as long as it's paid. But for immigration authorities, your answers to little questions like that will matter and will determine the outcome of your filing and your filing fees. Remember that when you file, not only you're risking your filing fees that must be paid, and right now they're about $1,800. So that's why people, some persons would prefer to have a lawyer. But again, it's not necessary to have an attorney, and with enough patience, preparation, if you go meticulously through every form and you question your spouse about the previous immigration history, criminal history, and things like that, of course, any individual should be capable of handling the issues themselves, as long as they know what they have to be on lookout for. And you can read more information about adjustment of status and various issues and problems and how to solve various problems on specifically regarding marriage-based adjustment of status on our website, www.sholtsova.com. Thank you.